Welcome to the Thornton Review, the show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us. Florida Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins was born in Scobie, Montana, and later moved to Tampa, Florida. He received degrees from American Military University and Norwich University. Jay enlisted in the U.S. Army after the 9/11 attacks and served over 20 years as a Green Beret. While on active duty deployment, he was shot in the arm and had to have his leg amputated because of severe injuries. Despite these injuries, Jay successfully requalified and served an additional 5 years on active duty. He was awarded the Purple Heart and the U.S. Army Special Operations Commands Award. After retiring from the military, he worked as a chief officer for Operation Barbecue Relief, which provides millions of meals to Americans following natural disasters. Jay was elected to the Florida Senate in November of 2022, where he chaired the Agriculture and Transportation Committees. On August 12, 2025, Jay was appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis as Florida's 21st Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins is currently running as a candidate for Florida Governor. Jay's wife, Layla, is also a retired military veteran. They have 2 sons, Gabe and Colt. Hi, I'm Pueschel, Schneier, Executive Producer and Manager of the Thornton Review. Thank you for tuning in. On today's show, we have Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. He is Florida's Lieutenant Governor. This is an exciting day for the Thornton Review. So it is so nice to have you in the studio. It was really fun to see you come up with your security detail and everything. That was very exciting. So will you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for having me on. I am Florida's Lieutenant Governor, the 21st. I was handpicked by Governor Ron DeSantis, appointed about 10 months ago now, 11 months, something like that. It's been very busy. We have been all over the state all the time. But you know what I love to think about here is I didn't grow up in politics. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I was born to a 16-year-old kid who had issues with alcohol and drugs. I was adopted by my grandparents, raised on a family farm, which we lost. It's all the best makings of a great country song, right? And that's where I came from. You know, it's not where you come from in life. It's what you do with where you come from. I joined the military, went into intel, became a Green Beret, got shot, got blown up, lost a leg, requalified, kept serving. I'm married to my best friend, Layla, who's a 20-year combat veteran as well. We both worked in special operations. But to be here today representing nearly 23.5 million people who call Florida home as a lieutenant governor is incredible, and it's a privilege and an honor. And in Florida, and in these United States of America, someone who grew up dirt poor, in poverty, on commodity cheese can be here today as the lieutenant governor of a state like this. That is the American dream, and it's real. If I can do it, they can do it.
Absolutely, yeah, I love it. I love your gumption and your mindset that it's not your situation that you're in that makes you who you are. It has to be something within yourself. But you probably have
good. Come. That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that. It's nice to have you here. So we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll begin our discussion with Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Thank you for tuning in. We are in the studio with Florida Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. So it's just so nice to have you here. It's just so exciting.
Oh, it's great.
So The first thing I want to ask you is what made you decide to run for governor? I know you're the lieutenant governor, so you're probably already pretty much doing the job. But what was the spark? Like, what made you decide, that you would be Florida's next governor?
Well, this is not something that you take for granted. Just because you're the lieutenant governor doesn't mean you have a right to go jump in and run for governor. When I got appointed, I wanted to see how people resonate with me. Is my approach to leadership, my communication, the way I see things, I say things, the way I move, is that what people want to see in the community? So I've been very busy. We started out with a big bang, moving across the state, and we haven't relented. So what I wanted to do first, as we went through this entire process, was hear from people. We hit county after county, city after city, and talked to thousands and thousands of people. And you know what I found out? They don't want politicians as normal. They don't want business as normal. They want someone who has courage, conviction, and candor. The candor to speak the truth, the conviction to stand, and the courage to fight, even if left alone. When I was appointed, Governor DeSantis said a few things that were pretty incredible. He said, look, if something were to happen to me, Jay is day one ready. He can step in and lead this state right now, no questions asked. That's a big statement. 4 years ago, I was just stepping into politics. 5 years ago, there was no chance I wanted to be in politics. And yet, here we are. God's plan is so much bigger than ours. It truly is. And when I made the decision, it came down to the candidates in the race. We researched their backgrounds, how they communicated, what they did, and whether they could win the primary and the general election. And what I found are people who could win a primary and lose a general, people who can't win a primary but can win a general, and people who wouldn't win either one. When I looked at my case, coming from the background I do, I think it opens up opportunities. It's normalcy. People understand someone who is self-made, who has clawed through life. Coming from a broken home, being adopted, there are things that are incredibly important to me that you don't typically hear from conservatives. Adoption, foster care. I'm unequivocally pro-God, pro-gun, pro-life. But we're pro-life all the way through. That means we want to have kids, get families. Those are things that resonate in the community. I know it's a big issue in the Panhandle right now. Mm-hmm. And then I thought about the so what. What's going to happen when the next giant thing happens? How are the other people in this race, before I jumped in, going to react? Do they have the moral fortitude and the courage to stand, like Governor DeSantis did during COVID? And I found them wanting. I did not see enough from them that they would stand and fight, even if alone, and protect our people. At my core, I'm not a politician, I'm a warrior. That is who I am. That is what I've done. And I realized very quickly that just like when I jumped into politics, I wasn't trying to be a politician. I wanted to lead, protect our people. I know that from Floridians, they want leadership that isn't talking about things on Fox News. They want leadership that is on the ground, solving problems, winning for the state of Florida. I jumped into this race because Governor Ron DeSantis is a generational governor. Incredible. If you're going to fill in his shoes and lead the very, very free state of Florida, you better be on the ground, leading from the front. You better know the issues. You better have experience in doing this. And oh, by the way, I don't have to talk about what I'm going to do in leading the state of Florida. I am Ron DeSantis' lieutenant governor. I am leading the state of Florida right now. There's no bullpen to warm up. The last piece I'll tell you is this. You're going to get tested. It's going to be hard. And what is going to happen? You can't have someone who's going to be overcome by events, who's going to wilt when the special interests come knocking, because they will. You want someone who will stand and fight for the people of Florida every day. That is the single most important thing that we do. And in that, I will not be found wanting. That's why I'm running to be the next governor of Florida.
Yeah, we want Florida first.
That's right.
Absolutely. We want America first and Florida first.
Well, when Florida leads, America wins. That's how this works. We're the conservative proving grounds of America.
I believe that, yeah. I've seen it. So, as an elected official, right now you're an appointed official, what is the most important thing that you have done for the state of Florida?
Well, getting elected in Tampa Bay, running against the mayor of Tampa's mother-in-law, Janet Cruz, I'll tell you, that was an underdog race. I was not the prohibitive favorite. It was a D+3. I won by 10. We didn't hide from who we were. We didn't, make statements that weren't true with my ethos. We told people, I am Jay Collins, I'm pro-God, I'm pro-gun, I'm pro-life, I'm a military man, and I'm here to be your next state senator. And when appointed as lieutenant governor, I took the same approach. Very clear. Say what you mean what you say, and get things done. As a senator, I passed 55 bills in 3 years, from constitutional carry to banning China from buying our land, to codifying prayer in sports, universal licensure, deregulation, tough on crime. I carried
You
things.
did all those?
I did.
That's amazing.
I also
Thank
ran
you.
what is a critical bill on educational socialism and communism. We don't have to take it for a test drive. We built the curriculum in an area where we don't want more mandates in education. We mandated this because we don't have to try it. This was hallmark legislation, and it's one that everybody else is starting to run in their states and across the country. It's great because you got to call socialism and communism what they are.
Yeah.
They are things that destroy our people. So what is the most important thing I did? I remember where I came from. I'm the son of a farmer. I'm an Army Green Beret. I work all day, every day for the people of Florida. I don't talk about getting things done. I get them done. I lead from the front. I understand without equivocation. It's about deeds, not words. You know.
Yes, thank you.
The thing that I'm most proud of as a state senator, when we had thousands of people trapped in the Middle East, scared if they were going to get home.
Right.
Their loved ones were trapped, children trapped on trips. And rather than get on Fox News and talk, on the day before Father's Day, I sat down with my family and I said, boys, I know that you did a lot of work on Father's Day and I'm going to have to miss it. But I wouldn't be much of a man nor be much of a dad if on Father's Day, above all days, and if I knew I could bring people home and I chose not to do it, I'm failing. So I loaded on a plane from Tampa to Cyprus, Cyprus to Jordan. In Jordan, together with Gray Bull Rescue, a nonprofit, we did cross-border operations and brought home 2,300 American citizens right back to Tampa, Florida. And why? I believe in government that is willing to do anything to protect and preserve what it values the most. And there should be no question. I value our people more than anything. Because when we do that and we lead, we make sure that we're going to leave this thing better than we got it. And ultimately, I put my money where my mouth was, even if it meant flying into a combat zone, dodging ballistic missiles and drones to get them home safely.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, you've been through it before. And you know what you're getting into, and you survived.
Just another day at the office, right?
Right. You're used to it by now?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't think you could ever get used to it.
I'd never seen ballistic missiles before. It's a pretty unique weapon. Very loud, very aggressive, and I can see why people were scared.
Yeah.
I've been shot and I've been blown up. I've been shot at by many things.
Right.
But I'll tell you, that one does get your attention.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we brought our people home.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for putting people first.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
It's not politics.
Because the most important thing anywhere you go and anywhere is public safety.
That's right.
If
we
people
lose that,
aren't
we
safe,
have nothing.
right. Like when my son was in school, the most important thing to me was that he was safe. You know, I wanted him to learn to read and write and do math, but most importantly, I wanted him to be safe.
That is your most precious thing in your life. And if they're not with you, you want to know that when you pick them up, all is going to be okay.
Yep. And everything I've done in my life is for my son. So,
that.
yeah. So, what do you see as the biggest problem right now in Florida?
So, you know, getting around the state, the number one question I get asked is on affordability. It really is.
Yeah.
You know, there are many things that are beyond our scope of control here in Florida. So I really want to make sure that we are aggressive and focusing on what we can.
Right.
I think as conservatives, we've missed the ball a little bit here.
Yep.
We've allowed the left to define this affordability conversation. And what it bothers me is the American dream, it can never be predicated on just getting by, on just hoping to have barely enough to get by. That's not okay. It's not. The American dream is about blowing the roof off of it, bringing in more jobs, higher salary, dropping the cost of living, deregulation so the free market can run and roam. That is what we want to see. Generation by generation, we want to have more success for those who come after us, not have it lost through equivocation and online nonsense. So how do we do that? First off, I think we have to focus on jobs. You know, Marco Rubio wrote a bunch of books, right? About 15 years ago, he wrote one that has really stuck with me. And in that, he said, look, we made a bad bet. We offshored and outsourced thousands and thousands and thousands of blue-collar jobs. And what do we get back? Nothing. It was a bad bet then. It's a worse problem now. So just fix it. How do we do that? As the governor, working through commerce, working with other leaders, we are bringing in people to provide real opportunity. We have to do that in the communities. Look at the panhandle. Look at the forestry issue. Look at the jobs lost. Look at the mills lost. Now, we've talked about clear cutting. We've talked about those things, but they're very smart about this as well. They've managed that process. Those are thousands of jobs lost. How do we replicate that? How do we fill those? There are people without them right now. We didn't bring back in another industry. How can we do that? So one of the things I'm bullish on right now is shipbuilding. I do. I think it's a real opportunity. That's 5,000 jobs above 80K at the port. That's another 25,000
Pensacola
jobs.
here you're talking about.
Inland above 65K. Those are real jobs with real opportunities, but the trickle down economics of that are incredible. It's going to impact everybody through the chain.
Yeah.
So you've got to find opportunities. Energy and transportation are two prime facilitators of that, but we have to find partners, whether it's helping small businesses grow into large ones or bringing in partners that speak our values. We've got to make that a priority, because when that happens, you make more money. You get to keep more of your money. Tied into that is deregulation. The less the government is in our lives, the better off. Shrink the government, deregulate, and get them out of the way. Hard stop, right? I am a local rule primarily guy. I think the less we preempt, the better. But when you have to do it, it should be specific and defined, limited. I think you have to talk about where you can save. That's why insurance and property tax are such big discussions right now. You know, when it comes to saving with insurance, 4 years ago, give or take, we did really exciting tort reform. That tort reform came at a time when we had 77% of the litigated claims in America from this state.
So when you're talking about insurance, are you talking about homeowners insurance or health insurance?
All
or
the
just
above,
Uh-huh.
but homeowners insurance is the primary thing discussed here.
Yeah. So we're talking about affordability. We're talking about insurance and property tax and smaller government. You're not going to have affordability. You're not going to be able to get rid of property tax, and you're not going to lower insurance if there's waste, fraud, and abuse going on, because that's the reason why they have to raise our taxes, is because we're paying for waste, fraud, and abuse. And there's a lot of programs that are unnecessary, and there's programs even on the local level that I do know about,
Sure.
that are they're wasteful. People are committing fraud, and it's abusive. And they just raised our property taxes here in Escambia County. We got bamboozled 3 different, I don't know if bamboozled is the word, but we got bammed up 3 times, because number one, they raised our assessed value. Every house in Escambia County was reassessed at a higher value. Number 2, the school board raised taxes, and number 3, the county commission raised taxes. And this homeowners, the homestead exemption, if it goes up to $250,000, that's not going to help me, because my house is worth more than that. It's only going to help people whose houses are worth less than $250,000.
It'll cut your property tax. We'll march towards a $500,000.
But I'm still paying more than I was when I bought the house.
Sure.
But so I think if I can just put in just very quickly my idea, if you're interested, my idea on property tax is to not eliminate it. I mean, first off, to back up, we have to look at waste, fraud, and abuse. We can't just look at it and call it out. We have to end it. We have to get rid of the people who are committing fraud. And I'm not saying we prosecute. I'm not like saying going after them. I'm saying just make it to where they can't do it. Like, we know you're doing it. You're going to stop doing it. And if it comes to prosecutions, that's up to somebody else, not me. It's not my idea, but it's just a thing. But my idea on property tax would be to grandfather in the the assessed value at the year you bought your house, and that's what you pay. It never goes up, and that's what you pay if it's homesteaded. Now, when you go to sell it, of course, it's going to be reassessed at the current value.
Sure.
But that would really help people out. If my home was assessed at the value it was the year I bought it, I would be happy with that. I wouldn't be complaining about property tax.
So let's unpack just a little bit the waste, fraud, and abuse. Yes, we are saving with insurance, but there's many things, and we should unpack that a little bit further. Same thing with property tax. I'm a huge advocate for that because it puts the money back in people's pockets. But fraud, waste, and abuse, it does happen in government. It does. What we've done in FAFO, in Doge,
Yeah.
is very clear. We're talking like $3 billion in annualized waste.
Right.
It was 800 million, I believe, in Miami-Dade
3
over the last 3 years.
So the Florida
Those are big
Doge found
numbers.
that in like
Yeah,
in all
that's
the counties
about the
together.
running number here, all told. That's
So
a
okay,
ton.
so you found it. What are you doing
that's
about it?
The point I'm getting at.
Okay, go. I'm
You
sorry.
have
Yep.
to put that into an action plan. You know, when I ran the JLAC committee, the Joint Legislative Audit Committee, it's one of those things that's kind of an extra committee you do. It's the House working with the Senate. We had a sternly worded letter, then another letter, and another letter warning people, and it would be years before any actions really happened. Or you can just do the things you're required to do by statute, and then you can actually turn their money off.
Yeah.
I was asked, like, are you
do
sure
it.
you want to do this?
Yeah.
100%, because when you shut their money off, you get their attention.
Yeah. Do
I
it.
don't want to take people's money, but if you don't follow through
Yeah.
and you don't
if
do the
they're
right
not doing
thing,
what they're supposed to do, it
there
needs to be.
has to be accountability.
Yeah.
You can't give free rides. When you turn their money off, it's not personal. This is business.
Yeah.
You have state dollars.
Yeah, because they're
and you're
stealing
not
from
representing
me.
that.
They're stealing from me.
That's right. I'm a radical transparency person.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the dashboard, the GUI, graphic unit interface. I want people to see facts and details. I want that to be very, very clear.
Right.
So just know that with that, if we're going to be extremely clear, there needs to be extreme accountability when you get money.
Yeah.
I want an ROI on what we do.
Yeah.
And we have to have an ROI associated with all the dollars coming out. And when we do that, now we can really understand where it's going, what it's being spent on, and manage that process. When we do that, I think we're really stepping into being great stewards of the taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. Because I don't have a problem paying taxes, but I have a problem paying for people who are stealing from me.
I have a problem paying taxes in general. I am less is more. However,
Well, I think
get
less-
really frustrated
Yeah.
when they're spending our money on stuff we don't need.
Right. I mean, we have to have taxes. We have to have taxation with representation. That that's how our government runs, is on taxes, and we have to have taxes. But if we know that somebody's committing waste, fraud, or abuse, and we're just saying, oh, well, we need to raise our taxes because of the we've got these other programs going on that are probably wasteful, but and we're not addressing the waste, fraud, and abuse. But it just doesn't make any sense.
you have to
It's
have accountability.
theft. It's absolute
and
theft.
I think I want people to be frustrated. You shouldn't want more and more taxes. You shouldn't want
don't,
taxes.
yeah, no.
We grudgingly fund what we need to through that. And when you come at this with skepticism, frustration, knowing you have to do that, I'm okay with that. I don't want us agreeing for taxes for perpetuity over and over and over again.
Right.
Pretty soon, you're dependent on the government for everything, and that never works out well.
Right. I'm for fewer programs, fewer government programs, lower taxes, and no waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, I know there's always going to be waste, fraud, and abuse, but if you see it, like you said, cut it off. Cut off their money
You got to
supply.
be accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're stealing from us. There's
right.
two things that I hate. I love people. I'm a Christian, but there are two things that I hate, and that's a liar and a thief.
Yep.
Can't stand it.
We got to remind the government
I'll cut them
sometimes
off.
it is not the government's money, it's your money, the taxpayers' money.
Yeah. I know the government doesn't have money. It's my money.
That's right.
It's everybody who pays taxes. So I appreciate that. Go after them. Get them. Cut their money off.
You have to.
So what will be the very first thing you do when and if you're elected?
Often we're asked this question, what's your day one issue?
Right, yeah.
I have a list of things.
Drink a beer.
Yeah.
The very first
Well,
thing.
honestly, you want to be completely transparent. You do a press conference, you
Yeah.
have this big soiree. I have an 11 and 14-year-old. I promise you, there is going to be something that they need attention
Gonna
for
be
because it's
some-
a big emotional thing.
Sure.
And I think it's important to talk about that. We're real people. We don't have a
Yeah, you
silver
have a
spoon.
family.
I'm not generationally wealthy. I have 2 boys that I love in our house, and this is a big thing for them.
Sure.
This is a lot to carry.
Yeah.
We're going to sit down as a family, and we're just going to be very grateful. But when we get to the policy side of this, I have multiple things that we are laying out as day one issues. We will communicate on those. There are things that we absolutely will do. But I think what's most important is to talk to the people, paint that vision so they can understand what is to come. I can promise you, we're not going to sit on our thumbs. We're not going to sit and let things be dictated. I understand how blessed we are to live in this nation. I know how blessed we are to live in Florida because I have seen Governor Ron DeSantis lead. And we will continue that. We are a republic for a reason, but we're a republic if we can keep it. And in the republic, the states have responsibility and power. Anything not clearly enumerated in the Constitution should be a state issue. And I'm not going to ask for permission. We are going to lead on those things as a state. If I want to protect this nation that I almost died for multiple times, well, then our state of Florida has to be pushing on issues that matter. Issues that may not get clicks all the time, but issues that put money in your pockets, deregulate the government, and make sure that we have stability long term. So this American dream gets passed down for the next 250 years. America is worth fighting for. It's worth defending with, if necessary, your last full measure. And I would do it today, tomorrow, if asked. But by God, Florida will lead under my watch. When we lead, America wins.
Awesome, thank you. I love Governor DeSantis's press conferences whenever there's a hurricane coming. He is just he's just the best governor ever. He's so articulate. He knows how to lead during a disaster that's approaching.
Well, we're the only state with a governor and lieutenant governor that are both combat veterans. In these United States, we are the only state. How wild is that?
Yeah, it is wild, yeah.
It's hard to believe. But
well, military, especially Green Beret. I mean, you're a tough guy if you're a Green Beret.
I was
smart, not only tough but smart, because you have to be highly intelligent to be accepted as a Green Beret.
Well, it's a lot of work, and it's not just physical. By design, you don't pick the strongest, the fastest, the most gifted academically. You pick the people who have a complete package, who have functional intelligence, who can understand broad concepts, who can work as a team, who can problem solve, but who can articulate a vision and lead and win. Because in the end, just like when I was a Green Beret, it's about winning. We had a series of no-failed missions. What we do as the governor, as lieutenant governor, as leaders across the state, is winning. We want our state to win. Governor DeSantis put W's on the board over and over and over, and we have to continue that. We are home to a $1.8 trillion economy. It's like the 14th largest in the world. By 2030, it's going to be a $3 trillion economy. It should be the 10th largest in the planet.
Can't even fathom it.
It's ridiculous.
You can't fathom trillion.
When our own nation is a peer in our economic value, that's pretty incredible. But we have to balance this. There are so many things that we have to come to grips with. There are three basic stances. There's the raise the racing flag and let it rip approach. That's the Byron Donalds model. There is the moratorium on things like data centers and all of that. I don't know that a European Union style moratorium is the right way to do it. And then there's what Governor DeSantis has always done, which is guardrails. Put a guardrail in, hold people accountable, and make sure that they are not going to take advantage of our people, that we are not going to overbuild, that we are going to manage the growth and empower our local governments to do their job. That's the critical thing on this. It's balance, and it's understanding that we came here, we raise our families here because we love what Florida is. And if we blow this thing up, or we lose focus on who we are, our principles, our values, we're not going to be Florida anymore. We'll be something completely different. You got to balance all of that moving forward. But again, that is what leadership is about. That is why you pick a governor who is willing to stand and fight, but who understands the people and their requirements and needs.
I appreciate that. We're going to take a commercial break.
You got it.
So the Thornton Review is a civic engagement show with the purpose to spread awareness by interviewing local elected officials, candidates, and professional leaders. This is information you won't get anywhere else. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button right now. Be sure to like the video and hit the notification bell so you never miss a great guest. We provide this content as a public service, and it helps our channel when you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You can watch us at our YouTube channel, The Thornton Review, at The Thornton Review 7810, our website, thethorntonreview.com, on Vimeo. Please follow The Thornton Review. Please like our Facebook page, The Thornton Review Show, on TV, WBQP Channel 12, and WBQP on Roku and Fire Stick. Military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to continue our discussion with Florida Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. So, Lieutenant Governor, I love calling you that. Lieutenant Governor Jay, what are your goals for Florida?
Well, you know, it's funny. My overall goal in life is to provide value, right? To be productive, to make a difference. You get one shot at life. So overall, I think I would be disingenuous if I didn't just say, one, you want to be consequential. You want to make a difference. Mm-hmm. It's not to get the click or the like or the TV. I could care less. Mm-hmm. It's to make a difference in the lives of our people. The nearly 23.5 million people that call Florida home. In terms of short, mid, and long term, so short term, I think you got to help Governor DeSantis get through his full term and maintain what he is. He's the greatest governor in our state's history. Mm-hmm. He is. I
agree.
He is a man who has stood on principles, mm-hmm. who has led when others wouldn't have. And he has refused to fold, mm-hmm. even when by himself. What he did during COVID didn't just save Florida, it saved America. Mm-hmm. His leadership was critical. Mm-hmm. And my midterm goal, once I become governor, is to make him the second most consequential governor in our state's history.
All right. There you go.
If you're not aiming to be the best, you're failing. Mm-hmm. You've got to have huge goals. Mm-hmm. I don't want Florida to just be okay. Mm-hmm. I never want us to fall back into mediocrity. Mm-hmm. I want Florida to lead. I want Florida to win. Mm-hmm. I want our kids to have opportunities that we never imagined. You know, we talked just a minute ago, kind of offline during commercial break, about our children and giving them guidance and not being too soft. You got to mold it. Mm-hmm. We have to mold where we, the people, want Florida to go, how we want to live our lives, and what we're going to be. Mm-hmm. But we also have to understand that in our form of government, we are the number one state. We are the conservative proving grounds, mm-hmm. and we have to keep the momentum if we want to protect these United States of America as we enter we're in our 250th year as a nation, mm-hmm. as we enter into our birthday as a country. Mm-hmm. We got to lead. Mm-hmm. We got to fight, and we cannot fall backwards. You know, when I ran in the state senate, it was on economy, education, and safety and security in the community. Mm-hmm. Those three things are the primary functions that make a difference at the kitchen table.
Repeat the three things, please.
Economy, education, and safety. Mm-hmm. If you take care of those things, that takes care of 90% of the people and 90% of the issues at the table, because mm-hmm. everything's interconnected. So let's start with safety. Mm-hmm. Look around the world right now. Mm-hmm.
We have to secure our borders.
Middle East to Russia, Ukraine, warfare is everywhere, and it's modernizing rapidly. We are blessed to have a very largely law and order focused state.
Yes.
We are at an all-time high, mm-hmm. all 50-year high in terms of safety in the community. But the world's changing. From cyber offensive operations to drones, drone swarms, it's only a matter of time before you see weaponization of those things in our community.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Giving the time, the tools, and the training to our men and women in the law enforcement and fire, mm-hmm. to our state guard, to our national guard, it's critical. Yeah. They have to have what they need.
Yeah, we need our local law.
Is a federal thing.
We need our local law enforcement to have something to shoot the drones down if they come.
Well, they're not allowed to by federal law, so we got to pressure the federal government.
What?
We have to train them in opportunities like that, and we got to make sure that they have the cutting edge technical skills, the tools, and the time to be masters of their craft. Yeah. Because they put their necks on the line. The thing that stresses me out the most in my current job is the thing that stressed me out when I was a Green Beret, that will definitely be a huge conviction on my heart as a governor, is good men and women in harm's way doing the hard job to protect our people and not having what they need. We have to fix that. So we're going to have to modernize certain aspects of this to give them the tools they need.
Absolutely.
But we stand beside them without equivocation. Economy, we talked about that largely, in how we raise the opportunity. Reciprocally, and I think this is incredibly important, being a military guy, I have seen the good idea fairy come so many times. This is a great thing. We're going to change the world.
And good intentions, yeah.
And you develop this huge plan, and there's no gap in the system for it to fit into. So you spend years slamming this over and over and over and trying to force the issue. And ultimately, we spend billions, if not trillions of dollars, failing on those things. So let's align our economy. Let's align education, our universities, our state schools, and our high schools. Let's align them underneath that into academic pillars of excellence. And let's understand where the gaps in our economic model are and reciprocally align them with what we teach our children to a degree. And here's why. On a 1, 3, 5, 10, and 15-year basis, they can make decisions on what they want to be because they see opportunity. That means we have to clearly illustrate where we see it going. And educationally, I think it's time to move to classical education across the state of Florida. We have worked to get closer and closer. It's time to rip the Band-Aid off. It's time to have that big, hairy, audacious goal, as Jim Collins says, right? And just say we are going to make great citizens, people who understand the heritage, the history, the reality, but we're going to give them critical thought process, decision-making. We're going to give them executive function so they can grow into the best version of themselves and not be armed to just get by, to sit at a desk and click a button. I want them to be problem-solving. I want them to understand how unique our nation is, how unique this state is, and how important that education is. There are no second-class citizens. Whether you want to graduate high school and get a job, go to the trades, build a business, or get a bachelor's, master's, or PhD, excellence must be our only demand in all things we do. And as Aristotle said, excellence is a habit. So if you want to have excellence in what we do, you have to demand it, you have to work forward towards it, and know that sometimes you're going to drop the ball and fail, and that's okay. Failure is not
You
defeat.
learn from failing.
That's right. Get back up, dust it off, and get back on the trail and move. And, you know, the last thing I'll tell you with education is this. Our average tradesman is 58 years old. The average farmer is 58.9. If you eat food, you're part of agriculture. You should be alarmed at that. If we can't feed ourselves and we're dependent on other countries, we have a real problem. We have to solve that. By 11th and 12th grade, people know what they want to do, generally speaking. So what I want to do is bring back apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship, into high school. Every high school should have opportunities in the trades. They should have local and regionalized capabilities to work with instructors from industry to really get themselves out there and build a real job with real opportunities. Secondarily to that, I want to see law enforcement, fire, and EMS also have the ability to show opportunity to go in as juniors and seniors through an Explorer-like program to take a noble profession and serve our community, to make a difference. When we do that, what do? We're taking care of security. We're building that middle layer of our economy, and we're making sure that nobody feels like they're a second-class citizen in this free state of Florida. This education approach is what opens up the doors to everything moving forward. That's what I want my legacy to be, is that we saw the people, we solved the problem, and we prioritized people, not politics.
This is totally derailing the conversation, but I wonder how you would have turned out if things were given to you as an individual growing up. If you did come from maybe a middle class or affluent family and you were a little more spoiled, I wonder if you would be the way you are.
You know, that's a very interesting question.
Is that just something inside of you? Is it nurture or nature?
Well, I think the big question, that's exactly what I was going to say. This is the whole nature and nurture premise, and the answer is it's both. I think you have certain aspects of yourself that are baked in, and I think that the area around you helps mold the characterization of who you are. Look, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, but we all adapt and grow and become better. I don't hate people who disagree with me. You are allowed to disagree. You have a protected freedom of speech, but you are not free from the consequences of what you say. There is responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
There is accountability.
Good.
And
yeah, because people should not be able to abuse their First Amendment rights.
Well, look, I will tell you.
And it's being abused all the time.
Look, I love the First Amendment because
Yeah,
it is
me
what
too.
protects all of the others, right? It truly is. I am grateful. We just did a presser on our Second Amendment today, just before this. But look, people have to have accountability. There just is. It's what it is. But if we don't get back to establishing grit,
it's personal accountability
and following through with our principles, our values, our ideas, our ideals, we're losing sight of what makes America what it is, what Florida truly is. We are a dynamic state. We are growing incredibly fast. We have unlimited opportunity moving forward, and we have to choose who we're going to be. And that's why I continue to frame where we are at this point in history as a time for choosing. We can choose to fall back and be more like DC, which is not what we need. I would submit that if Florida becomes more like DC, America will fall backwards. But if DC becomes more like Florida, we will have sheer dominance as a nation for the next 1,000 years. We are the greatest state among the 50, and we have to continue to fight and lead.
We don't want traffic circles everywhere.
That's right. Those are the key things.
The traffic circle state. If it's like DC. Oh, DC. My son just came back from DC. He lived there for 3 years. He turned 18, flew the coop, went up there before he even graduated high school, graduated online. He already had a good job. And so I went up there as often as I could, like every other month. I went up there and visited him. Yep. And we would do the DC thing. But driving around, boy, that was a learning experience.
It is.
Driving through DC.
Well, it's the cradle of liberty up there.
I love it. I absolutely love it there.
Boston in the Northeast.
But driving's scary.
It is scary. But look at what's even scarier, I think, is look at how far they've come from our American principles and values.
Yeah.
Conservative circles call them conservative values. They're not. Those are the American values that established our nation for what it is. They're worth defending now more than ever, because if we lose focus on them, man, we're going to lose so much. And there's still so much to fight for in this nation and in this state.
Well, so DC has such a high population. They have so many visitors. I don't know how many visitors they have on any given day, probably millions. But then the population that lives there, like Pensacola. So we have a population of like 350,000 people in Escambia County, but I don't know how many visitors, tourists we have, because we're a tourist town. So we have more than 350,000 people in the town at any given time, especially in the summertime because it's seasonal. But I think that we should have a population cap, and we spoke about this earlier, and you were like, you can't put a number, you can't put a number. I'm not talking about putting a number. I'm talking about responsible population growth through density and zoning. Like where I grew up in Cantonment and where my parents live now is zoned 1 house per 5 acres. But like across the street, we approached the lady across the street and asked her if we could buy her property. And she said she just sold it to a developer and they're about to build 20 houses on it. We don't understand how, because it's septic. There's no sewer up there yet anyway. Maybe they're planning on putting sewer. Maybe the guy's just going to sit on it for years until they put sewer in. But what I've noticed, because I grew up in Cantonment and Beulah, and I've noticed over the past few years, developers going in and just clear cutting the forest and building tract homes. So they're clear cutting the forest and paving over it. And so now we have coyotes coming into our yard, eating our chickens and our cats. In Gulf Breeze, you have bears eating out of garbage cans and, rummaging through people's yards and making a mess. And it's because there's no natural habitat anymore. Their natural habitat is gone. They have no place to live, no place to get food, so they're going into garbage cans. And in Cantonment, we've got raccoons and possums coming up and eating the cat food on the back porch. and we don't know if it's because their natural habitat is gone. We don't know where they're going to get their food. And the coyotes come up. We have cats missing every once in a while, and we'll find remains, for like out by the pond, and we know a coyote got it. My mom saw a coyote on the back porch one time, but there's no natural habitat for them. So they're coming into people's yards, and like I said, they're eating their chickens and their cats. People have cats, and I see online, I see videos I saw a video just recently of an animal, I don't know if it was a wolf or a bear, came into somebody's yard and tried to eat their dog. And the guy had to fend off, the bear to defend his dog.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a new subdivision behind this guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen the video.
Yeah.
But what I'll tell
they're
you,
all over. There's more than one.
at the core of what you're talking about is states, our state jumping in and overruling the cities and the counties, which I think is something that's really
So I'm
defining.
talking about more of local zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a defining discussion right now, especially as we talk about property tax and insurance and all of that. And it's, I'll go back to what I mentioned earlier. I'm about a 95, 96% home rule person. I was 100% when I got elected in the Senate. And then I realized that at any given time, there are counties who just don't think in a logical way sometimes. They
Right.
do things that really hurt their people. And
Well, they
some of
do
these are
things.
very
They
big.
do things that are going to line their pockets. Is what they do.
Maybe in certain cases, it was an ideological fight
Right.
based off
Yeah,
of
you're right.
climate change and other issues. Specifically, it was EV chargers. They wanted to have up to 30%, sometimes 40% EV chargers in parking lots, but it would have gone down and come at the expense of the business owner. You would have had a generational shift. That would have forced people under. I mean, some of these areas had huge
Right.
parking lots. Who's supposed to fight
Was
for
that
those
under
people?
Biden?
No, that was a couple years ago. Here in a county, they tried to
Oh,
push this
county.
up.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to go. If
Well,
you wouldn't sign that-
somebody's cousin owned the company.
Well, maybe not. But what I'll tell you is what we didn't want it to do is get stuck in there and eventually it's going to pass. So we preempted that. We said, look,
Thank you. Yeah.
that should be tied to the amount of EV vehicles on the road because where does everybody else park? 2, you're going to hurt business. And 3, that's ridiculous. You're using climate alarmism to drive
Right.
cost on people when it's already compoundingly difficult
Yeah.
to keep more of your money. We don't need
We
to
need
do
to be.
that.
We need to protect businesses.
That's right.
The pilgrims came here for 2 reasons: to worship God and to own a business. They wanted, freedom of religion. And they came here and they started businesses. It's the only thing they could do. They were trading with Indians and they started businesses. So that's the American dream: is worshiping God, going to church, raising a family, and owning a business.
Well, I think, again, going back to simple things, during the commercial break, we talked
Back to basics.
a little bit on Ronald Reagan, right? Ronald Reagan is my favorite, and I believe the greatest president. I love President Trump, but Ronald Reagan is my dude, right? He was often called the great communicator, but he said, I'm not the great communicator. I simply communicate great things.
Yeah.
There are so many things that are functionally true. It's really important to stop, just really stop, think, analyze, and then respond. And I think you have to communicate those great things sometimes because in a world where everything's moving very quick and everyone wants to be right, they want to be first, and they want to have these attack ads and these conversations. Let's talk about the things that are true. We know that our freedoms come from God. We know they're upheld by our Constitution at the federal and state level. And we know that our nation is unique. In just 250 years, look at how far we've come.
Yeah,
We're not
it's amazing.
perfect.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We are the best, worst system.
I know.
If men were angels,
We
we
are.
wouldn't need government.
Right.
But it's the best that we have. And we have a system built and predicated on, opportunity,
Yeah.
liberty, justice
The
for
free
all.
enterprise
A
system.
a government of the people, for the people, by the people.
Yeah.
Those things are worth talking about.
Yes.
And when you lead as a government, as a governor, as a lieutenant governor, as you serve as a senator, a house rep, in any way at the local level, the conversations we're having are the same ones that Madison, Jefferson, Hamilton, Washington, Franklin, you pick it, name a founding father, they had the same discussions. More technology now, same fundamental discussion. Big government, little government. Inalienable rights, government authors your rights. It's all the same thing. We have a time for choosing. Are we going to choose to follow our Constitution? Are we going to choose to be great and be different and be the United States of America, the great state of Florida? Or are we going to fall back and be like everybody else? I know where I'm at in this, and that's why I'm running to be the next governor of Florida.
Amazing. Can I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
Did your grandfather talk to you a lot?
No. No, he was a World War II vet, and I'll tell you, he didn't talk a lot. But when he did, you surely listen. You know, it's, I found my voice, and this is an interesting thing, and it's something that I struggled with. You know, I wear this pin. You'll see that it's got a little emblem in there. That's our regimental affiliation as a Green Beret. Our motto is De Oppresso Liber, to free the oppressed. But we call ourselves quiet professionals. So when I jumped into politics, I actually called some very senior leaders, people who were mentors, regimental leaders, senior leaders at the military and army level. And I said, guys, I think I'm going to be jumping into politics. And I'm concerned because as a Green Beret, I'll be among the very first of our kind, our tribe, our people, to do this. And it's not my right to speak for them. It's not my right to take ownership of that. And, you know, they pulled me aside and they're like, look, man, for a smart guy, you still don't get it sometimes. Look at your story. Look at where you've come from. If you don't tell people who we are, what we stand for, why this nation is worth fighting, who's going to do it? You know, I sat back and I thought about that. I unpacked it and I realized something really profound. You see, as Green Berets, we weren't functionally being quiet. We were being silent. We didn't speak. We didn't communicate. And we failed. And I will tell you, sometimes we failed the very people that we loved the most because we didn't tell people what we saw. We didn't tell people what we had learned. We didn't call it out in a design, in an effort to be transparent, but also to not be political. And I'll tell you that if those who have experience, those who have knowledge don't, we are doomed to repeat the same problems for perpetuity. So I came up with a very simple thought process here. When you're silent, people speak for you. But when you're quiet, people wait to hear you speak. You don't have to scream and yell. When you're right, people listen. You know it when you see it, you know it when you hear it. And the reason the Biden administration, the Obama administration, and so many others were able to do the things they did is simple. They told people, no, that's not really what you see. No, that's not really what you're hearing. You need to listen to us.
They created a false reality.
They did.
Or they tried to.
When we trust what we see, when we trust what we hear, and we step in on our fundamental freedoms and values, freedoms come from God, upheld by our Constitution. It's not the government's money, it's your money. We want you to keep it. Those are the things we have to communicate. Those are the things that in our 250th year as a nation, we have to be more focused on than ever. Because while the world is unraveling, America has to be strong. We have to lead. And in Florida, we have to be resolute in this task.
Thank you for that.
Of course.
So what is your platform?
Well, I think we've actually unpacked a lot of it.
Yeah, we did.
You know, in this.
Just in a nutshell, we have just a few minutes left.
Winning matters, right? I don't want us to just be okay. I don't want us to fall into mediocrity. I want us to always be the top state in Florida. I want to end my term as the most consequential governor in our history in the state of Florida, and here's why. If I do that, I have fulfilled my primary goal. Look, I'm honored to be lieutenant governor. If elected to be the next governor, it will be an incredible thing that is more meaningful than you'd ever know. I loved being a Green Beret, fighting on that ragged edge of freedom, but I am a dad and a husband first and foremost. My job is to preserve and protect what we have and what we love for my kids. My job is to do what I have to do. So God willing, my kids get to do what they want to do. I grew up in a trailer. I grew up on commodity cheese. I grew up in poverty, and my children will never know what it's like to not have everything you need, let alone everything you want. But I also make sure that I mold them, and they understand how quickly that can be lost. How important it is for good men and good women to stand on values and principles and lead. So when we do that, I'm protecting my very most important thing, that's my family. I'm protecting our community, our state, and a nation that I nearly died for, that I buried friends for. You know, I'm often asked, like, why do you keep serving? You've been shot and all of these horrible things. I wouldn't change a single thing that went on in my life. Not one. The
It
hardest.
probably made you stronger. It made you more determined.
It did. But you know, I
What
think
doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
True.
And you went through something that a lot more than most people ever go through.
Those weren't the hard things. They weren't. I would do those again. Those were just challenges. Those were obstacles. What you do with an obstacle is up to you. I can't control what happens. I can control what I do.
Yeah, what
my
you
decisions.
do. Yeah.
It's
Your
remembering that we are a nation of free people. But these freedoms were earned generation by generation, from Yorktown to New Orleans to places like Appomattox, the poppies of Flanders Field, the cliffs of Pointe du Hoc, the Chosin River, the rice paddies of Vietnam, the mountains of Afghanistan, the deserts of Iraq, and in community places just like this, where free men and women sit and discuss and sometimes argue and fight for a future that matters.
Yeah.
Those are the things we have to preserve and protect, and that is why this is so important. It's we the people. This fight matters, now more than ever.
Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, I learned a lot. I can tell that you're just highly intelligent, and you're very focused and motivated, and you can see the path. Like you have a vision. You can envision what needs to be done to save Florida and to carry it through.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
I've learned from the best. I'm the Lieutenant Governor of Florida. I don't have to talk about leading. I am leading the
right,
state
you're
of
already
Florida
doing it.
with Governor DeSantis.
Yeah.
The greatest governor in our
I
state's
know.
history.
So you're learning under the greatest governor that
That's
we've
right.
ever had. So just carry on the tradition.
100%.
Well, okay. Well, I'm looking forward to this election, and I
Thank
wish
you.
you all the best. I'm very impressed, and I'm hoping that we have a great governor going
Well,
forward.
Elections have consequences. Sign up, follow us, vote well. Go to jayforflorida.com. That's JAYFOR Florida spelled out.com. That's my website. Sign up to volunteer. We need people in our corner. Those who tell you the race is over aren't paying attention. 8 years ago, Ron DeSantis was in the same position I'm in. 8 years before that, so was Rick Scott. The people have a choice. It's the people's voice that is going to choose the next governor. Choose wisely.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the Thornton Review is on the air to provide public service awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. This show is made possible by Larry Downs Jr. Plumbing, Gary Sapp Automotive, Ida Gates Godly Tees LLC, Alpha Fence Company, and our guest, Florida Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. And we want to thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. Bye-bye.